National corporate funding for Frontline is provided by Earthlink. And by NPR.
In Denver,
Skopje,
in Tehran,
Omaha,
in Istanbul,
in Hong Kong,
Belgrade,
In Decatur.
in Seattle,
Beijing,
in Pittsburgh.
in Johannesburg. This is NPR News.
Frontline is made possible by the annual financial support of PBS viewers like you. Thank you.
An ordinary crime.
No one's supposed to get shot.
A simple investigation.
It was Terence Garner that shot me. His face is the last thing that I saw with both my eyes.
Terence Deloach confessed.
They're not letting Garner go.
An open and shut case.
The book is closed on Terence Garner.
Terence Garner, Deloach. They just really don't worry about whether the man innocent or not.
If his mother had named him John, he wouldn't be in prison today.
Tonight on Frontline, an ordinary crime. In Johnston County, North Carolina, in a small town on April 25th, 1997, a robbery occurred. As robberies go, it wasn't a big one. A small lending company housed in a trailer where some money was taken and a woman was shot but survived. Today, the place is closed and seems abandoned. Only a sign in the back reminds one of the quality finance company it used to be. But the crime committed here has left deep and indelible marks behind it.
The robber was planned the night before.
Richard Keith Riddick was the head of the operation.
The next day we went on with it. I went and picked up Deloach, went and picked up Henderson. We went to the store and we circled. We stopped there on the highway and looked at it and circled around because there was people there, cars parked in the driveway. Came back, the cars were going, so I parked on the side close to the woods, and they went there.
Bertha Miller was a customer who was there at the time.
I came up to the finance company, which when I got there, there was some lady already in there. And like seconds after she left, I seen two guys coming up.
Alice Wise was the secretary of Charles Woodard, the manager.
I was running what we called a test calculus on the computer. And then I heard Mr. Woodard in a strange tone of voice say, "May I help you with something?" Mr. Willard came up from the back, asked them could he help them. And one of the guys turned around. And I looked up and this taller and black guy was in front of my desk and he had a bandana around his face. And that's when I realized what was going on. Then a shorter black guy had a pistol at Mr. Woodard's head. I was gonna jump. I mean, I was gonna take a chance to, trying to get away than to just sit here and just let them shoot me. The phones were continuously ringing, and I thought anything could agitate these people more. I was upset. I was, crying. She was crying, she was screaming, begging, please don't kill us. I mean, I was begging for our life, and she was telling me to just calm down, Bertha, calm down. You're gonna have to calm down. I said, it'll be okay, it'll be over soon. They tied Miss Alice up first, and then they tied me up. They demand the money. The shorter one with the gun said, "Where's the rest of the money? Where is it?" And Mr. Woodard said, "It's in the safe."
Waiting in the getaway car, Riddick thought it would be simple.
Go in there, get him to open the safe. TV action, 1, 2, 3. They show him the gun, they give us the money.
Then somehow the TV scenario of 1, 2, 3 and out went awry. A shot was fired.
He didn't say anything. He just shot me in the chest.
Riddick said he tried to remain calm.
No one's supposed to get shot. So telling myself, there's warning shots. They doing what they gotta do.
I held my hands up like this and I said, okay. Of all things to say, but I just, okay. And then that's when he said, what do you think? Should I go ahead and kill the bitch?
Henderson come running out like a madman. Leave him. Let's go. Leave him. He's shooting people. I don't believe it. Hysterical.
I was looking straight in the shorter one's face when he fired the third shot. Since I had my hands up like this, it went through both wrists before it entered my head, my forehead.
How did that happen?
I had a lunatic with me. Took the wrong person.
Who was?
Deloach.
But he was your cousin. You knew him. Why did you take him?
I never seen him shoot anybody. Never. I mean, he just got out of prison for shooting somebody. But I didn't know the circumstances surrounding that. I wasn't there. The large majority point in time when he was locked up in New York, I was living in California. So we didn't maintain contact. So I didn't know what he was locked up for. I didn't have an idea. But when he told me, on robbery or attempted murder, whatever, it didn't register this man's a lunatic.
The third man in the robbery was Kendrick Henderson.
But Henderson was just backup. Because we didn't want him. He had a heart. He didn't fit in that category I just described to you. You know, he was trying to be in that when he didn't have, he had a good family, still young, going to school, you know, respectable parents, you know, lived in the country, you know. But he wanted to go anyway.
Now he found himself involved in a case where a woman was shot.
What made him shoot Alice Wise to this day, I don't even know what made him shoot her, because he ain't have to shoot her. I mean, it had to be something personal within inside itself. Myself nor Riddick encouraged him to shoot nobody, you know. Really, we didn't even need a gun, but it was there and he used it.
For a little while, it was like a movie, like it wasn't happening. I'm just floating through. It's going on, but it's really not going on. When things like that happen, it's like it's dreamy, kinda. And that's exactly what it was.
It happened so fast, and then I was unaware that it was going to happen at all, and then it just happened like, boom, he shot her. All I seen was just, I couldn't see her because she was behind the desk, pinned down behind the desk, but I just seen him standing over, holding the gun, and then when I know I heard the 2 shots, so when I seen how close he was over the top of her, I just said to myself, I know she dead.
I thought she was going down.
Alice Wise did not die, but she was shot in the chest and head and lost her left eye. She never fully recovered from her trauma.
Nothing is as I knew it before that day. Nothing. I had worked since I was 15 years old. I've never been a Susie homemaker. I admire women that can, but I never was. I worked for a living. I took pride in my work. I can't work anymore. I'm terrified of crowds. I don't trust people because I think I did nothing to Terence Garner and he shot me. The robbery was over. There was no reason. Nothing provoked it. So if Terence Garner tried his best and he did all that he could do to kill me, then there are other strangers that are out there that could possibly want to do the same.
Who is Terence Garner? Now 21, Terence Garner was 16 when he was arrested for the shooting of Alice Wise, a charge he has always denied.
It hurt me to my heart that she was like, yeah, you the one that shot me and pointed me out of court. It really hurt me because I didn't have no associating with guns or nothing like that. I wouldn't even use a gun if it saved my life.
He also claimed he didn't know the people with whom he was supposed to have committed the crime.
I never even met them. I never even seen them before. And I mean, them guys are they're a whole lot older than I am, but I never even seen them or crossed their path or nothing like that.
His family tries hard to be optimistic.
I don't think Terrence gonna be in there that long. I really don't. Because they know he did not do it. And it's just a matter of time before they clear him of the crime. And I believe that.
Kendrick Henderson, who had left a fingerprint on a piece of duct tape at the scene of the crime, was the first to be apprehended. He named 2 people who he said were his co-perpetrators.
Beside myself, it was Richard Keith Riddick and Terence Deloach. But at the time, I didn't know Terence's last name because, you know, he had just came down from New York. That's all I knew. But I knew where Terence Deloach was staying at that time because he was staying with his girlfriend.
Terence Garner had never been to New York, did not know Riddick, and did not live with a girlfriend. He lived with his mother. Why then was he picked up? The district attorney, Tom Locke, says that this was because Kendrick Henderson gave the detectives one more piece of information.
While Henderson was being booked, he told Detective Jason Barber, who was booking him, that he did not know Terence's last name, but that he recalled that his nickname or street name was Duke Boy.
I said Richard Riddick and his cousin Terence from New York, you know. But later on down the line, they said that I said his nickname was Duke Boy. And I mean, if you really read over the transcripts to Motion of Discovery, you'll see that that wasn't possible. That I couldn't have said that because I never knew a Duke Boy until I met Duke Boy 3 months later.
It is correct that there is no reference to the nickname of Duke Boy in the transcript of the interview, of the initial interview with Henderson. However, Barber has always been emphatic that during the booking process that Henderson said, I remember that Terence's street name was Duke Boy. I mean, perhaps that was simply an afterthought that he remembered at that point the street name, and that was simply not a part of the recorded interview.
Yeah, they said the tape was off. They was fingerprinting me. Yeah, so, you know. Yeah, they could say anything at that time, you know. They could have said I said anything when the tape off, but it wasn't on tape, you know.
Well, Henderson may emphatically deny that, but if you read the transcript of Henderson made at the time of his arrest and read his trial testimony, I mean, it's obvious that Henderson doesn't tell the truth anyway. You know, on the other hand, you know, I have the greatest of respect and belief in the integrity of Detective Jason Barber.
Unfortunately, Jason Barber, the lead investigator of the Quality Finance robbery, refuses to make any comment to Frontline on or off the record regarding the case of Terence Garner, as do the State Bureau of Investigation agents. What's more, the law enforcement officials in neighboring Wayne County, where the perpetrators lived, remember the story very differently. It was to them that Barber and the other officers first came for help.
Jason Barber and the other officers came to this county looking at Terence, last name unknown, never told my group that they were looking at Terence, alias known as Deep Boy. Never.
Captain Jerry Best, chief of the investigation division of the Wayne County Sheriff's Office, remembers that day clearly.
We attempted to help them locate this Terence, last name unknown. And through our investigation, assisted with the Goldsboro Police Department's Housing Authority officers, somebody dropped the name Terence Garner. And as a result of that information, a photograph of Terence Garner was obtained. And that's where we first heard about the name Deep Boy.
The photograph was a result of a police sweep of the area a short time before. The Johnston County detectives put the photograph in a lineup and showed it to the manager of the Quality Finance Company. After looking at it for a long time, he identified Garner. Then, armed with a photograph and Garner's name, they finally used the information given to them by Kendrick Henderson. They went to the apartment where he had told them that Riddick's cousin from New York lived with his girlfriend. They knocked on the door, found nobody there, and left. Richard Price was Terence Garner's defense lawyer.
Well, normally you would leave a stakeout team to wait and see if somebody shows up. And that would be normal procedure if you were investigating a serious crime and you believed that that person may come. You just won't knock on the door and then keep going. You would keep coming back to it.
The crucial result of the decision to leave the apartment would only become clear months later. The detectives drove 20 blocks away to the address they had for 16-year-old Terence Garner's mother.
And he was found in his apartment complex playing basketball at about 12:15. He actually came up to the police. They were banging on his mother's door, and he, according to the investigator, he came up to the police and said, "Why are you banging on my mother's door? She's asleep," and got in their face and basically wanted him to leave. And they asked him who he was, and that's when they arrested him.
The Wayne County Sheriff, Kerry Winders, found it unusual.
Well, from my experience in dealing in some neighborhoods, if the law's looking somebody, I don't believe they're going to come and say, "Yeah, that's me. I'm ready to go with you. Yeah, that's me. You're looking me for doing that. Yeah, I'm here."
He didn't deny who he was. He immediately told us his name was Terence Garner. He acted like it was just oblivious to him while we were looking at him.
I ain't know what to say. I was like, y'all got the wrong person. I ain't do this, you know. I won't think it straight. I was like, well, what's the deal? How y'all pick me up? No sooner they got me in hand, they just shut down the whole investigation. Once they got me, they went by what they got. They didn't care anymore. They just wanted to get it over. I mean, it could have been any Terrence, you know. I mean, it just had to come to me first, you know. It was my name pulled first, so they pulled me, got me and locked me up.
His mother had named him John. He wouldn't be in prison today. because he wouldn't have had the name. And had he been on another street and not been picked up and got his photograph taken by the Goldsboro police, he wouldn't be in prison today.
According to Kendrick Henderson, he had been in jail for 3 months before he first ran into Terence Garner.
One of the jailers made a mistake and put us in a visitation room at the same time. So now I'm sitting right beside him and don't even know it. And my girlfriend at the time, she was like, "That's the guy they got for shooting that woman in your case." And I looked at him, I looked to my side, I looked at him, and I'm like, hold up. So at that point right there, I just, I really just, I looked at him, I told him, I said, what are you locked up for? When he looked at me, he just looked like he was about to cry, He just looked real scared. His mother was already crying. So he looked at me, he was like, I don't know, I haven't done anything. He said, they said I shot some woman. And at that point right there, I told him, I said, you ain't got to worry about this. I said, I'm not gonna let them convict you of these crimes right here.
As soon as he could, he got in touch with his lawyer, James Etheridge.
At that time, he said, look, talk to the district attorney. Tell them that that's not the right fellow. They got the wrong man. That's not who I was talking about. And I said, are you sure? He said, yes, I'm sure. And, he wanted me to get in contact to go and talk to this Terence fellow and let the Terence that they had apprehended, who was the wrong Terence. And I believe that myself. He wanted me to talk with him, and I said, no, I can't do that. I can speak to his lawyer.
He was very clear to his lawyer when he saw my client in the jail and said, there's your co-defendant, there's Terence Garner. And he saw him, he told his lawyer very clearly, that's the wrong guy. They're going to be mad at me. I'm trying to cooperate here. I want help on my sentence. They've got my fingerprints. They've got me, but they're going to look foolish. They've got the wrong guy. I don't know that kid. He wasn't in the crime.
His lawyer, Mr. Price, wanted me to take the stand, but the judge would not allow him to subpoena me. The judge left it up to me to take the stand for Mr. Garner. So my lawyer was like, don't take the stand.
My reaction was, that sounds good. And that's something that that I would want you to do, but you can't do that. And you can't do that because you would put yourself in harm's way. You would put yourself in the cross-examination. You would put yourself in a position where it may hurt your cause and hurt my cause.
Even though Kendrick Henderson was always careful to minimize his own role in the robbery, he never denied that he had participated in it. He always denied Garner's participation.
I know what I'm going through, so I can just imagine what he going through. I was involved in the crime, and I wake up every day like, oh man, how did I get here? So I know he wasn't involved in the crime. He waking up like, oh man, these people just really don't care about me, They really think I'm guilty when the man he's 100% innocent.
Terence Garner's chances of getting out seemed brighter when Riddick, who had fled to California, was extradited to North Carolina. He told Frontline that he then realized they had arrested the wrong Terence.
I didn't know till I came to North Carolina that they had the wrong guy. And my lawyer came to see me, I was like, I don't know that dude. That's my first time seeing him. I don't know Garner.
Robert Denning was Riddick's court-appointed lawyer.
Do you remember what you first told Riddick about Garner?
I know exactly what I told Mr. Riddick. But you have to understand that as an attorney, there is a confidential requirement that I can't tell what he says and I can't tell what I've said to him.
He put it to me like, they're not letting Garner go, so you need to decide either go down with Garner or go home. Or get the least bit amount of time, which is, I can get you some probation. I can get that for you, it's no problem. They'll listen to me. What is it gonna be? First couple months, I'm gonna take it to trial. He's coming back, more and more evidence. You know his trial is coming up real soon. You need to make a decision. You need to make a decision. Cause after once he's gone, you know, ain't nothing I can do for you. Well, alright, you know, what I need to do.
What Denning had in mind for Riddick was to cooperate with the prosecution and cop a plea.
The case had gone on for some time, and as I recall, Mr. Locke and myself were trying a homicide case. And during breaks after that, we discussed the possibility of cooperating, so to speak.
We approached Mr. Denning with the negotiated plea offer. Up until that point, Riddick had not made any statements to law enforcement officers. He had exercised his right to remain silent at the time of his arrest. And I let Riddick's lawyer know that we were willing to allow his client to plead guilty to the lesser charges in exchange for his truthful testimony.
Against Garner.
Against Garner and Henderson. His lawyer, I'm assuming, discussed the plea offer with his client and responded that yes, his client was willing to accept our negotiated plea offer and is willing to testify truthfully.
Well, see, the plea bargains, if they read pretty much uniformly that the state agrees to accept, assuming that the defendant will testify truthfully at the trial of so-and-so. Well, that's obviously a ploy by the state or government attorney. So when their witness with a criminal record or whatever testifies, well, you've agreed to testify truthfully. It's a ploy to add credibility to someone who has no credibility. So the lawyer has an ethical duty to avoid placing a witness on the stand that he knows is giving perjured testimony. So the lawyer says, tell the truth. I've covered myself. Now, whatever he says is, I think that's pretty universal.
Is that the way it works?
You know it is.
The The plea offered by the prosecution asked for Riddick's testimony against Garner and Henderson, but it also added that if Riddick refused, the offer would go to Henderson in exchange for his testimony against Garner and Riddick. Denning's counteroffer was that his client would agree to testify to the truth. He did not specify on paper what the truth was. The two lawyers stipulated that Riddick would have to submit to a polygraph test before the plea was signed.
I don't know why they did that, but they told me ahead of time, it doesn't matter. This is not admissible in court. It doesn't matter. This is just for us and us only.
And how did you pass? What happened?
They said you can't really grade it. You can either pass or fail. They said I failed. But if they had to grade it, I got one question right, and that would be, is my mother name such and such and such?
Everything else?
Everything else they said or whatever.
You failed.
I failed.
And they let you go to court and testify on the stand anyway?
And when I failed, we laughed together. A collective, oh, don't worry about it. Okay. You want anything to eat? You want some cigarettes? Yeah. I want everything I can get. I'm one of the boys now. You know how they do.
I was not there. I was not there when Mr. Locke spoke to the polygraph operator. I know nothing more than that I was told that he scored poorly, and Mr. Locke had some reason, again, and you'll have to ask him, Mr. Locke had some reason to think that the score was acceptable, and he called him to the stand to testify. That's all I know.
After talking with the polygraph examiner, who really was a little reluctant to run the polygraph in the first time, in the first place, we decided that the polygraph results were not necessarily all that valid anyway. The polygraph examiner told me, and I've been told this on other occasions by other polygraph examiners, that polygraph exams administered to people who are in custody at the time are not all that reliable. The people are depressed and extremely frightened anyway, and this can affect the subject's performance on the polygraph exam.
Riddick says that the two lawyers did their very best to ensure that he would pass the polygraph test.
The question they asked me was designed for me to pass. They asked me questions like, were you the driver? I was. Did Terence go in and shoot the woman? He did. But you didn't ask me Terence Deloach or Terence Garner. You asked me Terence. So how can I fail that? But I guess my subconscious mind was activated, and I knew which Terence it was, so I don't know.
If I knew, I would not structure a deal where I knew my client was lying. No, I would not do that. I wouldn't structure a deal for someone to get up and lie on the stand. Absolutely not. I shouldn't do that. It's against my oath.
Well, that's baloney. That's on the answer I can give. How does a lawyer know whether he's telling the truth or not unless the lawyer was there?
Were you there when he testified?
Yes, I was there when he testified.
Do you think he's telling the truth?
That's not my call.
But what do you think?
I don't think anything. That's not my call. It's not my function.
What's your function?
My function is to represent my client zealously within the bounds of the law.
I asked my lawyer one time, I said, suppose I tell them on the stand that it wasn't Garner. You don't want to do that. Yeah, I don't want to do it. I know what's going to happen. You know, I'm not stupid. You know?
Richard Rosen is a professor of law at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
I would have assumed if I were Riddick's lawyer that the only way Riddick was going to get his deal was if he testified against Garner. Prosecutors quite often say, we just want you to tell the truth, but everybody involved knows that they want you to tell their version of the truth, which they may believe is true at that point, but if you start saying something different, you lose your plea.
Riddick says that the prosecution's version of the truth suited his own dilemma. Not happy to snitch on his cousin, he was now offered a way out.
Okay, so now they looking at it, well, you don't have to tell on your cousin. We help you do what you gotta do, you help us do what we gotta do. Okay. So now I'm not the snitch, because I didn't tell on my cousin. You feel me? That's how they played me. Okay, so I played their game. I knew what I was doing the whole time.
You met Riddick before the trial.
That's correct. I did talk with him before the trial.
Did you think that he was truthful?
He certainly struck me as being truthful, yes.
Did you know that he had a cousin whose name was Terence?
No, we did not know that before trial.
I'm sorry, you did or you didn't?
No, we did not know before trial that Riddick had a cousin named Terence.
They knew I got a cousin. Now they want to take my statement. First of all, the district attorney wants to speak with you. They tell me the story first. So Henderson and Garner goes in. Garner's the trigger man. Henderson ties everyone up. This, and this, and this. The story exactly how it happened. But the Loach is not in the picture.
Where is he?
He became the fourth man later down the road, but at that point he was still just the cousin I don't have. You don't have a cousin, do you? Okay. Got that out the way. You sure you don't have a cousin? Because this is very important now. No, I don't have a cousin. Okay, good. Now we can proceed.
Who asked you that?
Tom Locke and his 3 henchmen, the detectives he had with him.
He didn't say, Riddick, remember, you don't have a cousin.
He didn't really say that till he was prepping me. But it was, you don't have a cousin? I don't have a cousin. Who is the cousin that Henderson is telling us about? You gotta know, because you went to his house first, before you went and picked up Garner. You went to Deloach's house. So when you sit there and ask me constantly if I have a cousin, I already know what it is. I don't have one. You just making sure I'm up on it. So I played the game. Easy as 1, 2, 3. Now everything we just said, when I cut the tape on, you tell it like it is. Cut the tape on and I said it. My lawyer right there. Okay, you did good. Pat me on the back.
And they know you have a cousin.
And they know. And they know. Without a reasonable doubt, they know.
If Riddick said that I knew before trial that he had a cousin named Terence, then Riddick would be sadly mistaken.
Because you really didn't know it.
I did not know it.
It was so easy to check, though. You didn't check on it.
Run that by me one more time.
All I was saying is that you didn't check on it. I mean, I don't think it's that hard. You have a guy in prison who's a perpetrator, who's telling you that his co-perpetrator is a cousin of Riddick who's from New York and now lives in this town. I don't see why you couldn't check it out. I mean, I really don't. It's a tiny town.
I don't know that it's necessarily that easy to confirm the name of every cousin that